Welcome to the Talking Cars podcast. I'm Alex and Isaac.
I'm Ryan Pilakowski.
And I'm Jeff Bartlett.
All right, so Jeff, you are the managing editor for Cars. You've been with CR for over 20 years, and you're joining us on the podcast, which is awesome. So, welcome. And today we're going to be talking about the 2026 Audi A6. We bought a Premium Plus for our test program, and here's what you need to know about it. This has been, Audi's long-standing mid-size luxury sedan, just redesigned, so full new generation. It competes primarily with the BMW 5 Series and the Mercedes E-Class. There's other vehicles out there too, but those are really direct competitors. And I think what we're probably most excited about here is it comes standard with a turbo V6, which is pretty cool. The other two cars I mentioned do not. So, Jeff, I'm going to start with you. What did you like most about the A6?
Well, I think you kicked it off right there. It's really a powertrain vehicle. That turbo V6 defines the character of it. It's all about that performance, the smoothness. Almost anything else you describe about the car almost comes back to that each and every time. The engine is its real standout.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm just excited they're still making sedans, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like
and
luxury
this is like
German sedans.
Yeah, it's got the right shape, the right proportions, just like it's a sedan.
Yeah, but the
for it.
turbo V6 is nice. I mean, like you mentioned, the E-Class and the 5 Series we had were 4 cylinders, and they were nice 4 cylinders, but
Some
not
of
a
the best,
V6
probably.
with a turbo on it, you know? So, this is a kind of a car I think you want to go on a road trip with, you know, get in the highway and cruise. It's got its issues, of course, here and there, but in general, I think, that's exciting that they're still doing that.
The downside of the engine, though, is the fuel economy.
Sure.
So it gets only
cares?
23 miles per gallon compared to 25 before.
Yeah.
Of course, it's on premium. Who cares? Yeah, you got your black card and you swipe it regularly. But then the other element is the transmission, where we had some kind of mixed experiences with that.
Yeah. So, it comes with this 7-speed dual clutch transmission, and we see issues with dual clutch transmissions in mainstream cars.
Yeah, the classic low speed stuff. I don't hate it as much as it has issues. I'm not gonna say it doesn't, but my goodness, when you get once you get up to speed and you're driving it in a little sporty manner, it shifts nicely.
This car is all about the fact for me, and we'll get into some of the other stuff when we talk about maybe things we didn't like so much. Low speed is not where it shines, but you get it out on the highway, you start cruising, and it starts gliding over bumps in terms of ride comfort and things like that. The engine is really good at high speeds, and transmission, all that stuff. It just really felt at home when you were doing miles on the highway, right?
Yeah, much more enjoyable driving distance than around town for that very reason. Just all the special elements of the car that come to life at speed,
Right.
Especially once you put it in sport mode.
Yeah. Sport mode helps. Keeps the RPMs a little higher. Gear changes are a little crisper.
Yeah, it's a little and that the dual clutches lend themselves to that that sportierness, if you will. Yeah. I will say I was in the A5 over this past weekend. You can get in both of those cars, and from the inside out, you don't know the difference, and that's a little bit upsetting. I think it's just the interior is lackluster is what I'm getting at. And, for that kind of money, what kind of money? What did we pay for that?
73 for ours.
So I mean, that's like luxury SUV money.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, the interior to me felt well assembled, right, as Audis tend to be, but maybe not the best material choice, not the most interesting to look at.
It's just lackluster.
Yeah,
it's just kind of, and the A5's that way, but the A5's a bit less money, and it's supposed to be like a tier down or whatever, right?
Right.
This is their premium sedan. I think they missed a point there. I think a little bit.
Well, and one of the key points is the use of the black plastic.
Yeah, that's
something
exactly
that we
what I'm talking about.
detest in cheap cars.
Yeah.
And this is just mind blowing with the reflections and the propensity to scratch. The interior looked a little more traditional to me than Mercedes and BMW, which have gone sci-fi with these big screens and so much interior lighting. This doesn't go quite to that extreme, but then they just lose it on such a simple thing.
Like the easiest thing. Right? I mean, I know. They did it steers well. I thought the steering was pretty good. It rides well. I mean, it gets some larger impact can come through, but and the powertrain we just talked about is great.
I think it's
speed stuff.
Most enjoyable to drive out of the 3 cars here, right? In terms of steering, it just, I don't know, you probably wouldn't traditionally say this, right? We're talking about BMW by comparison, but it feels like the most driver focused of the 3, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't know what you guys think.
I thought the Mercedes had the better steering of all of them. It had the summer tires on it, which kind of, that's another story, but the BMW is the driving machine, right? Ultimate, and
not in this case.
This is much more so, I would say. And then they put that motor in there, and that gets you that gets your excitement going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The engine, it really does, like you said, Jeff, come back to that every time. Like, the turbo aspect of it, right? And they actually have the turbo in the valley of the engine, right? So like, it responds really quickly if you just ignore the transmission for a second at low speeds, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wish I heard it more. Not gonna lie. That was when I got into it. I was like, oh, sweet, V6 compared to the other two. This is gonna be great.
Speaking of hearing it, though,
probably
that
the
car,
right choice. But
it is quiet,
super quiet,
super quiet. Yeah. I was impressed with that. I mean, it should be. All three of them are and should be, but this thing is quiet. Impressive, which adds to gives you a little more of that luxury feeling or that what you paid for, right? When you shut the door and it's like, oh, okay, I'm in something solid. That's a good thing. But
the wind noise was, and I think we're talking sedans here, so you just have less frontal area than an SUV, so it just is moving less air,
right?
And I don't know, I just really appreciate that. You're not getting any weird like whistling or turbulent sounds over here or whatever it might be, but it just adds again to that. It's a great highway cruiser aspect to it, right? Visibility, I found it to be really good. And again, I think simple sedan, simple styling really lended itself to that. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. However, I will say the couple lower cars I've been driving lately, they have a lot of snow here and there's snowbanks everywhere, and I have like anxiety because I can't see over. And I've been driving a tire test truck for tire testing, breaking the tires. So I've been up high, and now I'm getting these cars, and I love being in a car, but I'm also like, you get used to being up in the air. It's like, but aside from that, you can see out the rear windows nice and big, side windows. You can see up over the hood well. The driving position in that car is great for me. So
Yeah, the inherent design helps, especially with the fairly thin pillars for this type of car.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't really expect that, but yeah, I kept coming back on a lot of the kind of critical items of it, thinking, what if this was an SUV?
He's been swayed by the SUV.
Yeah, but this car was really a turning point for me, where I kept thinking, is this as luxurious as I expect? Well, I'd like a little more elbow room. I'd like a little more visibility, which is seeing over snowbanks and so forth.
Yeah, fair.
And I hate to admit it, but as I'm looking at the low sales figures for it, and I'm thinking of my own personal bias, which is just now developing.
Yeah, he's gone full SUV.
Like, well, geez, for $73,000, I could buy a pretty nice SUV.
Sure.
And then
Can't
it's
argue
easier to get in and out of, got a little more elbow room.
Right.
It addresses some of those things.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I love that they're still making these German sedans or any sedans, right? But yeah, you got to be somewhat of an enthusiast, because you could just go get a really nice SUV that you can see it better out of, rides better maybe, it does other things better.
Yeah, you're not getting into this by mistake.
Yeah, right? This is sort of like an enthusiast thing a little bit in a way. Like this is like our new sports car maybe. What is that? I don't know.
Well, and I think it speaks to their strategy a little bit here, right? They're just offering everything for everyone in some way, right? I mean, you got the A6 each. I mean, we have many Audis are out in the garage right now that they're redesigning, right? Yeah. And so they've got the EV version if you want that in both sedan and SUV and gas and all that stuff, right? So I don't know, maybe the Q7 as it rolls into the shop probably sooner.
Well, that's why I kept thinking of it. We just drove the Q5. Yeah. But yeah, I think you make a good point, right? This is becoming more of a niche product, more tailored towards something, which makes the idea of like focus on performance and the powertrain, the smoothness. You pick some attributes it can shine on that maybe an SUV can't, and that's where you'll find the audience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be everything to everyone in the way that, of course, SUVs are kind of filling that spot, right?
Right. Well, that would be boring. We'd have just one car for sale if they did everything, right? Yeah. So it's kind of nice to still see this stuff, I think.
Seats I found to be, Audi definitely tends to have a nicer seat, as you would expect, right? $73,000 car, right? So just configurable, comfortable, firm at first, but again, long distance found to be, it held up for me. I don't know what you guys experienced, but yeah.
Yeah, and Germans are always known for having seats that are a little bit firmer, with the idea of that it'll support your body over a longer period of time. If they're really soft, you tend to sink in, and it causes postural problems. I found this really comfortable. It accommodated my my frame and the way I sit in it. At least up front. The back I was less enamored with.
Yeah. can't really argue there. So, all right. So we're gonna move into what we don't like. But before we do that, we haven't talked at all about controls, which is kind of indicative of where we're going. But before we get to the negatives of it, are there any positives that we found with the controls? I mean, there's some physical stuff left here. Maybe not a lot, but there are some things left in this car.
Yeah, not a lot.
The shifter was okay.
Yeah, the shifter's not bad, but yeah, I struggle with controls these days. I mean, they overcomplicate these cars.
It's got 4 window switches at least.
Yeah, that's good. No, it's just, but it's a car that's for me. It is about driving, right? Like if this was an SUV, it's like now the controls matter more. They don't matter as much to me just because I'm driving the car. I want to enjoy that part of it. But it's still like, why are we overcomplicating these things?
Yeah, no, and that's
sometimes
fair.
It seems like just because they can. I mean, with this focus on just larger and larger screens, there's so many things hidden in there that you have to chase down.
Yeah.
But to me, at least among its peers, the screens were one of the more positive things because I favor a car that has a more traditional looking dash.
Okay.
Whereas some of the ones we've been driving recently, they're just a screen all the way across, like it's a billboard.
Yeah.
So this felt a little more designed. And also that center infotainment screen was close, so it was very easy to reach and read. So that was helpful. Of course, interacting with it, that's a different topic.
Yeah. It's responsive. It feels high quality, and and its response and the graphics, all this stuff. And they still use a pretty simple black background, good contrast, right? So you can see the stuff, right? Maybe it's a little cluttered, right? With all the graphics and information and buttons and all that stuff. But all right. So let's go into what we don't like, and maybe the rest of the controls are somewhere to start. But Brian,
I guess I already touched on it. Yeah. The interior is just lackluster. A lot of black plastics for this price. And like I said earlier, I was literally in the A5. Like if you were in both cars, you were just teleported into each one. You wouldn't know which one you were in. I don't think
they signed.
There's nothing that distinguishes this as the A6. This is better than that one. Like that was kind of a letdown for me. But you can look past it eventually. I didn't pay for the car, so maybe that's why it's easier. But
I mean, if you're coming from maybe you're an Audi customer already, you're coming from your older one, you're just upgrading your A6. Like you're probably gonna be happy. But I think, you're right. Like if that A6 customer wanders into an A5 or a Q5 in the showroom, they're like, wait, hang on. This is the same thing.
It's the same. Yeah. I mean, I get they're going to carry over some parts, but it's just, I just thought there should have been a little more frill in there just because it's that much money. It's an A6. Like it's their premium.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I think the design would be pretty striking to a previous A6 owner in terms of
exactly.
These cars, like their peers, have gone from very conventional setups, and with the German luxury sedans, very businesslike and kind of mannered and serious. To now, it's more like a kid's iPad when there's screens everywhere, and it's just a little less special.
Yeah, everybody can do 2 big screens now, right? So. It doesn't distinguish you, and they are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it's the execution ultimately of the controls that make the difference. And to me, in this, I felt like there were too many operations I was trying to do where I would start something like, say, making a climate change. I know just where on the screen I'm looking. I'm back to driving, and then I want the next step, which may be adjusting a fan or seats or whatever.
Yeah.
To be in a similar area on the screen, and it's not.
Yeah.
So you're kind of poking around and chasing it, which takes your eyes off the road.
Yeah.
And with this car, you want to focus on the driving, not the playing with the iPad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they've got touch capacitive controls in a few places, right? The volume is a slider on the steering wheel, which,
I hate that.
Full disclosure, at the time of this recording, they announced that they are going to make some changes to a lot of these Audi models. I think one of those is a volume roller on the steering wheel. Thankfully.
They had the perfect, it was a roller back in the day. Remember that? Well, back in the day, it was not long ago, I guess. Yeah. But the roller, it's like, what's wrong with that? It's perfect.
Nothing.
Like the Mercedes has that slider. I despise it. I can't stand it. I have a big thumb. It does not work. Okay,
it's just not a place for it.
It goes from nothing to blasting your eardrums out.
Yeah,
totally. You just can't control it well. It's like why? I don't know.
Yeah, it kept driving the car, hands on the wheel, go figure, and having the volume muted or whatever, and you make a turn, and then all of a sudden you're trying to have a conversation, and then there's music happening, and you're just like, this is not it.
I guess you could bump the roller, but the roller is easy to just put back or like get back in.
It had some resistance and texture to it.
Yeah, it had detents. It would roll. Right. It was like, what's wrong with that? I don't know.
Yeah. Then you got all the controls on the door, which is not unique to the A6. They're putting it in all the Audis, right? But they're combining like headlights and mirror controls, memory seats, and other stuff too. I'm probably not remembering, but it's just a lot packed into this
that one thing,
panel down there on the door.
And you really have to look to the side to see it.
Down under the wheel a little bit.
The closer things are to your regular field of view, the easier and safer it is.
Right. The black plastic, not to harp on it too much, but it just makes me laugh. Like everybody else has kind of moved on, it feels like, and for some reason, I don't know, Audi's got a warehouse full of it. I think they got to put somewhere. But the one in front of the passenger, right? Because you can get a passenger screen in a lot of these cars, and we did not. It feels like the 2026 version of a blank switch. It's just like
totally
right there in your face.
This
huge thing of black plastic. It's kind of crazy.
Instant regret.
Yeah, a little bit.
I will say the black plastic is trimmed well. Like it's like put together well, it's put in there well, but it's like it's still.
It could have been something else, right?
Right.
A different material.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at the Mercedes, the interior, that was beautiful, right? They're classic for that. They have a whole other slew of issues, but the BMW, but like they just didn't they benchmark these together? Just be like, well, we got to step this up a little bit. They didn't seem like they did that. I don't know.
Some other small things that I didn't necessarily get along with too well is like the storage in the inside. I never quite felt like I had the right place to put stuff. I mean, there's cup holders and whatever, but like the center console is adjustable, for example, right? For the height, which is great, but that's really your only covered storage place. So you're just dealing with the latch every time you want to put something in and out, and it's small. So I don't know, just not a deal breaker by any means, but not the best.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that has that armrest stays up like it.
Yeah, which that in and of itself, I'm here for, but
but like if you put your wallet or something in there and you leave, that thing stays up, right?
Yeah.
Like you can see through the side of it. So it's like it's not private
right.
anymore kind of a thing.
Right.
Which I don't, like the A5 has that. And it's like, because I would find myself putting it all the way down when I get out because I like to have it up a little bit because it's kind of like sloped down a little bit. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, but going back, there was a time when there was like almost no storage in these things.
Right. Or no cup holders.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, Germans introduced cup holders was a big thing.
They're meeting us halfway.
Progress. So.
Yeah, I filed this under, it's no SUV.
All right, so Jeff will be on the next Audi SUV podcast, whatever it is.
I'll be completely over them by then.
There'll be no negative section.
So
I'll be on the coupes.
We were talking about earlier. We were talking about ride a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I'll say I think it was in general. The body control is great. It's very steady. It stays steady, but
no doubt.
Naturally, it's got some lower profile, sportier tires on it, and it does some impact will crash into the car a little bit.
Yeah,
not bad, but and the car still feels real nice and solid when it does happen. But I think it kind of just comes with the territory. It's a little bit sportier of a car, so.
Right. It's what are your expectations?
Yeah. Right.
Do you want a cushy cruiser? Do you want a Buick, or do you want a European sports sedan that's really engaging and that you can talk your wife into getting as a sensible choice and go out and enjoy it instead of having a sports car?
Yeah.
It's all how you look at it.
I guess this is something I don't like. I think they blended that fairly well.
Yeah. I think it was just for me, it was a slower speed. If I'm hitting like a pothole driving around town, that's where I was like, whoa, okay.
Sure.
But
that's what I'm referring to.
Which, not too unexpected, but oddly enough, the 5 Series I think is probably the cushiest, at least of these.
Yeah, which is different.
Not
usually
what you would expect.
this E-Class was kind of sporty. It was like a weird flip flop there.
Yeah, a little bit. So the transmission, we talked about it a little bit, but maybe come back to that because it's not perfect, right? No. Good at speed, but not so much at low speeds, right?
Yeah, just low speed clunks here and there. That jerkiness that it's engaging the clutches. I mean, literally some mechanics are happening, right?
Yeah.
So, but I tell you what, once you get moving, it shifts like it just glides right along. It bangs into gear like nicely. It's great. I like that.
Yeah.
I've always been not so hard on dual clutches because they do have that sportiness to them.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, there's a little hesitation at low speeds.
Yeah.
In a way, it almost feels like it's the car conveying, this really isn't my thing. You want to run to the grocery store, take your other car. You want to go out on the highway, have some really, fun miles, hit some curvy roads. Put me in sport mode. Let's have a great time.
That being said, though, I mean, we've had BMWs in the past that were not dual clutch. I forget what the name of that transmission is, but it's sporty. It's super sporty. Like it doesn't have the low. It's a normal transmission. It doesn't have the low speed. Clunks and whatnot, and then it's perfect.
The 5 Series we're talking about has
possible.
It.
We know it's possible out there.
BMW
so
it's just
wonderful transmission.
Usually
you'll see all else the same, some kind of fuel economy benefit, perhaps going for the DCT.
Sure.
So,
but
that's not in this one.
Not here, though.
Yeah, it's a weird choice, but they're putting it in all their models, right? Even the Q5's got a DCT in it. So it makes more sense maybe in some of their models than it does in others. But
maybe there's some kind of connection. If they bought just a volume of transmissions, they get all the black plastic they want for free. Maybe it's just some scalability thing.
It's got to be. I think we're onto something. All right. And then I think, the last thing that I'll say is just, and maybe it's seemingly obvious, but just access, right? And I think a little bit in the rear seat too. Getting in and out, it's a low car. And then for me, these mid-size sedans, 5 Series E-Class, this thing, I guess I would expect maybe naturally to have more space in the rear seat. And that's just not necessarily the case. They're a bigger car, but you're not getting this limousine-like experience in the back.
No, you got to go up another model.
Yeah, right.
So
A8.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the access. Like there was a time when we were these were great access cars because that was normal. There was no SUVs. We're used to SUVs. And the bar is up here now for access, and that's just the nature of the beast here.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
but you have to duck down a little bit and crawl into it, but it's not terrible. It's just,
no, it is a fair bit of compromise for the price, and I get kind of our expectations evolve over time.
Yeah,
but getting in, the rear doors don't open quite as wide as you might like. The footpath, so that as you step in, how you navigate your boot around the seat and then tuck it in is a little tricky. You got to duck. I was surprised at how much I had to bend and kind of contort to get inside. And in a way, thinking back to my SUV comment, you kind of size up like, I don't want to, I know they don't make the A4 anymore, but when they did, I don't want A4 and I don't want A5. I want something bigger because I need all the space and so forth. And then you don't get it. So it kind of renders it, is this for a family, a couple adults in the front, a couple kids in the back, or you running out with your coworkers at lunch and just going, I'm sorry. I should have gotten an A8.
Slide this front seat up a little bit.
We're not talking the back seat of a Mustang or anything like that where your head's bouncing off the glass, but it is a smaller space than you might expect, right? But I think it goes to the sense that with so many great SUV options out there, like we're saying, you're not getting into this car by accident, so you got to kind of want it. But if you do, for the most part, you're ending up with something that's pretty nice and good driving car.
Yeah. And ultimately, the key for any car buyer is to know what you want and then make sure you're getting it. For some people, this is going to be absolutely the right thing. But raising some of these concerns, I think, may have you thinking, well, there might be other choices.
And we can help you find those choices.
Yes. There are other choices.
Right. So we're going to move on to audience questions. And of course, you can submit your own questions to talkingcars@icloud.com. And today we have a question from Elliot, and he's writing from Annandale, Virginia. And he says, I have a 2014 Prius V with 103,000 miles I bought used about 10 years ago. Last summer, I used the Dr. Prius app to check the battery state, 62% of capacity. The mileage is falling off as the engine runs around 40 mpg in 65 to 90 degree temperatures, a bit over 30 miles per gallon in winter weather, and gets driven about 8,000 miles a year at the most. The question, is there a battery state rule of thumb for when one should either trade for a hybrid vehicle or dump a few thousand into a new battery, water pumps, new plugs, etc.? So great question. And we actually asked Mike Crossan, who you've certainly seen on this podcast and here at CR. He's one of our master technicians here at CR. So we actually asked him, and he provided us with an awesome video answer to your question. So here he is.
Thanks for the great question, Elliot. You're definitely not alone. As Priuses and other hybrids get older and get more mileage on them, the batteries can become a problem area. Generally speaking, the Prius is very reliable, and I think if you do this repair correctly, it would make sense. You definitely want to avoid the dealership and a brand new battery. That can be really pricey, and the numbers just don't work out. However, if you find a good quality remanufactured battery, and there's probably a specialist in your area that can handle this repair, it's not that big of a deal. You can do this economically and get yourself back on the road and get the miles per gallon that you expect, and you can start putting some of that money back in your pocket. And before too long, that repair could very well pay for itself.
All right. So thanks, Mike. Very well said. Anything else that you guys want to add to Mike's response here for Elliot?
No, I think Mike said it pretty well. 103,000 miles nowadays isn't a ton of miles. I mean, it's a lot of miles, but that car can go another 100
Yeah, it's a
easily.
reliable
So,
car. Yeah.
Depending on what your wallet wants to do, don't be afraid. The battery is a big scary thing, I guess, but it's not. It doesn't have to be. If you do what Mike said, avoid a dealer and whatnot. So, if you like the car, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
A new car is expensive today.
Very much so.
Yeah, much more than the cost of refurbishing a battery.
Yeah.
One thing I'd add is it kind of underscores, while many people were concerned with hybrid batteries or even EV batteries, how long will they last? How will this impact me? One of the ways to reduce those stresses is to buy a reliable model and to choose something that sells in a high volume. There's going to be a lot of support for Priuses out there.
Oh, yeah.
Some other smaller seller cars, maybe not.
Yeah. And I guess the only thing I'll add into the mix, totally agree with you guys and Mike, is just, a new car, things have progressed a lot, right? In terms of safety technology, the materials used, better in a crash, all that stuff. So even if you're not going used, even if you got something certified pre-owned or something like that, getting into something newer that's not 12 years old, again, just depending on how you're using the car or putting your family in it, that type of thing. Just something to consider. But it doesn't sound like this vehicle goes too many miles in a year. But so that'll do it for this episode. Once again, send your questions to talkingcars@icloud.com, and we will see you next week.